Thank you for joining our presentation, and we are very glad to have a talk here about Keycloak, the CNCF incubating project. This presentation mainly consists of the two parts. In the first part of this talk, we would like to introduce what Keycloak is and what you can do by using Keycloak. And after that, in the second part of this talk, we would like to introduce the latest Keycloak update to you. So before the first part of this talk, I would like to introduce myself to you briefly. My name is Takashi Norimatsu, working for Hitachi Limited Japan, and also Keycloak Maintenance since 2021 in October. So in the past of this talk, I would like to talk about the following items. In the beginning of this talk, I would like to tell you what Keycloak is. Keycloak is Identity and Access Management, OSS, for authentication and authorization. For example, providing single sign-on SSO features, and the securing API access feature, and so on. And Keycloak complies with several open security standards for both authentication and authorization. For example, OpenID Connect, OIDC, SAML v2, auth2, auth2.1, and so on. And Keycloak is CNCF incubating project. And Keycloak is released in Apache license version 2. Next, I'd like to tell you what you can do by using Keycloak. Mainly, I'd like to introduce to you mainly two features: single sign-on and securing API accesses. The first three, the single sign-on, maybe you already know, but please imagine the situation that you use several web services, and each web service requires user authentication to you. So therefore, in this situation, you need to authenticate yourself onto each web service. So it's quite tedious work, so we don't want to do that. To get around this situation, we can use the feature single sign-on. Of course, Keycloak provides it. So in this case, you only once you authenticate yourself onto Keycloak, then you can log in without authentication to all of the web services that integrate with Keycloak by following the security standard, for example, OpenID Connect, SAML v2. Secondly, securing API accesses. So please consider the situation where you use a web service, and this web service accesses an API server with an API key. So in this situation, you need to get an API key in advance. So generally speaking, the lifetime of an API key is long, and sometimes never expires. So therefore, if this API key is stolen, then you might suffer the long-term unauthorized API access to the server. So generally speaking, the API key scope is large, which means that by using the single API key, we can do a lot of the things. So yes, it's very convenient, but however, regarding security perspective, if this API key, your API key is stolen, then you might suffer the wide range unauthorized API access to the server. So to mitigate such kind of the security risk, we can use the access token of OAuth2 specification instead of an API key. Of course, the Keycloak supported this OAuth2. The access token So you need not to get this access token in advance. And also, generally speaking, the access token's lifetime is very short. So therefore, if your access token is stolen, then you might not suffer long-term unauthorized API access. Then, so generally speaking, the access token's scope is very narrow, or ideally the least privileged. So therefore, if your access token is stolen, then you might not suffer wide-range unauthorized API access. Of course, Keycloak provides several features other than those two features. So in this slide, I'd like to pick up some of them for end-user authentication. So Keycloak supports one-time password. Therefore, you can realize multi-factor authentication by using one-time password. And Keycloak supports passkeys. So therefore, you can realize the passwordless phishing-resistant user authentication by using the Keycloak. The Keycloak also supports LDAP and Active Directory, which means that if you use an legacy identity system that stores your user information and support LDAP or Active Directory, then you can integrate Keycloak with those legacy identity systems. And Keycloak supports the social login, or sometimes called identity brokering, which means that if you use the major external identity provider for your user authentication, for example, Google IDP, Facebook, or GitHub, and so on, then you can still integrate the Keycloak with those major external identity provider by following the open standard specification, for example, OIDC and SAML v2. The next, I'd like to tell you the advantages that you can gain by using the Keycloak. So regarding safety aspect, Keycloak got certified as a server product that complies with several security open standards. For example, OIDC or FAPI, the OAuth2, the security enhanced specification, and so on. By OpenID Foundation, the standardization organization, they also got certified by this foundation. So therefore, please rest assured that you can use Keycloak safety and security. And regarding soundness aspect, of course, Keycloak is OSS, so you expect the no vendor lock-in. And Keycloak can run everywhere. Therefore, you can store your user information onto a data center or in your country. Then, so in my opinion, Keycloak's community is very active. And as just mentioned before, Keycloak is CNCF incubating project. So therefore, you can expect that Keycloak follows the vendor-neutral governance, and also Keycloak is highly sustainable project. So therefore, please rest assured that you can use Keycloak in the long term. The next, I'd like to briefly tell you how Keycloak is managed. Of course, by maintenance. Currently, there are 11 maintainers in the world. Each maintainer has its expertise. So, for example, I am in charge of security protocol, for example, OIDC, auth2, and so on. And so, the Keycloak maintenance follows this governance model. So, you can access to this governance model on the Keycloak's GitHub repository. And Keycloaks follow the following release process. There are 3 types of release. Major release is released in every 2 to 3 years. It includes maybe many breaking change and also a lot of new features and enhancement, while the minor release is released in about every 3 months. It includes a few or no breaking chain and includes some new features and enhancement. Finally, the patch release is released in about a few weeks and irregularly. It includes no breaking change, and basically it includes the bug fixes. The Keycloak project have several kinds of the official sub-project. I picked up the three such kind of project. The Keycloak benchmark can be used for benchmarking your running Keycloak. And Keycloak JavaScript adapter and Keycloak client library can be used if we want to implement your client. Next, I'd like to tell you which community activities are going on. As far as I know, there are 2 official Keycloak special interest group, SIG. The first SIG is OOSIG. Its objective is to support the author IDC and other security specifications to Keycloak. So therefore, the aim is to make Keycloak more secure. The other SIG is Site Reliability Engineers SIG, SRE SIG. Its objective is to improve the lives of people like you running Keycloak and managing Keycloak. There are several Keycloak community events in the world. I'd like to pick up some of them in this talk. The Keycloak Hour of Course is a series of online meetings organized by Keycloak Maintenance. And the CNCF hosted event, KeycloakCon, was held on the last Friday in the same venue. And KeyConf is a series of the Keycloak community event, mainly held on Europe. And Keycloak Dev Day is also a series of Keycloak community developers event, mainly held on Germany. Of course, there are the several Keycloak community events other than these events. Finally, I'd like to tell you how to contribute to Keycloak. So there are a lot of information you need before contributing to Keycloak. Then this Keycloak official site community page has such kind of the information. So therefore, please access to this page if you want to do any kind of a contribution to Keycloak. That's all for the first part of this talk. Then I would like to pass this presentation on to the Marek, also the Keycloak Maintenance.
Thank you, Takashi. Yeah, so in this part of the talk, I will talk briefly about new features in Keycloak 26.1 and 26.2, which are the last Keycloak minor releases. And yeah, so first, I can start with a few words about myself. I am Marek Posolda, and I am a Red Hat employee. Will become IBM employee soon, but I will still fully work on Keycloak. And I'm in Brno, Czech Republic, and I am software engineer in Keycloak since 2013. And I'm Keycloak maintainer, and working especially on the core parts of Keycloak, like user authentication, protocols like OpenID Connect or SAML, and clients. And yeah, so now about the new features. So in the 26.2, in Keycloak, we managed to promote some preview features to be supported. So biggest highlight is that we managed to support standard token exchange and fine-grained admin permissions. Other noticeable things in the OpenID Connect and Auth 2, we have now minimum ACR value for the client, which is useful, for example, if you have more client applications integrated with Keycloak, and you want like lots of your clients, that is sufficient for them to authenticate user just with username and password. But some of the clients require stronger way, like require mandatory two-factor authentication. So this allows this way. And support for prompt create, that's useful if client application wants to redirect user directly to the registration screen instead of the login screen. Authorization code binding to a DPOP key, that's related to the DPOP, which is OAuth 2 family protocol, and it's a preview feature in Keycloak. For metrics and observability, we have also some achievements like OpenTelemetry tracing enabled, guides for metrics and Grafana dashboard, and metrics on user activities and password hashing. Those things were also presented in more details by my colleague Ryan Emerson in the KubeCon Europe when he had presentation together with Takashi. So if you want, you can look at the YouTube video for some details. And high availability, so there is like improvements in the cluster communication. It's secured by TLS by default. JDBC ping used for established cluster, that's useful that like establishing cluster is more reliable in environments and it does not require multicast by default anymore. And there are improvements in Keycloak operator related to network policy and rolling updates for optimized and customized images which use same version of Keycloak. So now about supported standard token exchange. So that's the feature which my team was working on, and token exchange is the specification of RFC 8693, and it's the feature which allows clients to obtain a new token based on the existing token. So it basically allows client to use different token with different scopes or audiences. And it's mainly used for chaining calls to other endpoints. Like in this picture, we can see how the typical use case can look like. So when a user authenticates to the initial client and Keycloak redirects token, now Keycloak redirects back to the initial client, which is like web application. Initial client has the tokens. So like first two arrows are like classic OpenID Connect flow. But now when user sends the request to the initial client, which is like web application, this initial client may want to send a REST request to the requester client, which is like a microservice. But in some cases, a requester client may want to send another microservice, like a target client. But if target client is also secured by Keycloak, it may not be possible to use the original token issued to the initial client, because like target client may expect to be invoked just by the requester client microservice. So in this case, token exchange might be a solution, as requester client can send the token exchange request to Keycloak and exchange for the token, which is able to call target client, and then successful response could be returned to the target client and then to initial client and user. So in summary, token exchange standard version 2 is fully supported, and it provides internal token exchange, which means what I mentioned, like that's like exchanging one token issued to some Keycloak client to another token issued to Keycloak client. And it supports the token exchange specification. Token exchange version 1, it's still preview features. It covers more use cases like external, internal token exchange, which is exchanging of the third-party identity provider tokens to internal Keycloak tokens. Also, it covers impersonation and so on. But these features are not yet polished, so this is still a preview. So in this part, I will go directly to supported fine-grained admin permissions now. So fine-grained admin permissions is the feature which allows like more fine-grained control over operations performed on Keycloak, Keycloak admin REST API or admin console. Like traditional permission model, which is based on roles, allows to cover use cases like that. For example, user John is able to edit all users in the realm, or user John is able to view all clients in the realm. But fine-grained admin permission allows like more fine-grained control over a single resource. So for example, user John is able to edit just single user mic, or user John is able to edit all users from group bar. Or yeah, similarly like managing group and all its subgroups and so on. So yeah, in this case, I might try to show the demo. Like I have demo in here for token exchange and for fine-grained admin permissions. However, we don't have probably too much time. So I will just show the demo for fine-grained admin permission, but I will share the slides where you can see or where you can try demo for token exchange by yourself. And so for fine-grained admin permissions, I have a realm called FGAP, and I have like 3 users here. And now this is login session of the master realm of the admin user. And now, for example, here I want to start the session of the user John, who will manage the realm of its own. And he does not have permission to do anything right now, so I will need to assign, or I will assign the role to this user to be able to view other users. So now he should be able to view other users. I refresh the screen and I can see that he can view Mike, for example. But when I try to change something on user Mike, it's forbidden right now. User John cannot manage any users. So if I want him to be able to manage users, I can assign him a role manage user. But if I want him to be able to manage just single user, then maybe fine-grained admin permission is the optimal solution for that. So I first need to enable admin permissions here. And now there is new tab permissions which appeared here, and I can create a policy. Policies allows to specify who is able to do something or not do something. So here I will want to specify that user John should be able to do something, like manage other user. So I will create allow John policy and select user John. And yeah, so now I have permission. Now I have policy. So now I will create permission which specify also the resource, and I want user John to be able to manage just user Mike. So we'll specify the permission manage Mike permission, and now I need to specify manage and manage just single specific user. So this is like subject of the authorization decision, and I will bind it with the John user. And yeah, when it's saved, now like admin user can try himself if in evaluation tab, if like particular permission works for particular users. Like here we have session open for user John, so we can test it. And yeah, John is able to edit Mike. But when I try to edit some other users, like for example, Alice, it does not work as expected. Yeah, so he is able to edit just single user as expected. Okay, so yeah, now I will continue with the slides. Yeah, so fine-grained admin permission was a preview for a long time, but this fine-grained admin permission version 2 is finally supported in Keycloak 26.2, and it has various things like centralized management and better evaluation mechanism, so various improvements in compared to version 1. And a small update on the future features. So there is a plan to support recovery codes, which is another way of multi-factor authentication. Update email feature is more manageable updating of the emails. Passkeys like conditional UI, that's also the plan, and also Depop. More supported token exchange use cases, as right now we support just the internal, as I've mentioned. Possibly more fine-grained admin permission capabilities, like more resources support besides users and clients and roles and groups. And maybe also enhancements in rolling updates. And there are also prototypes regarding admin API version 2 and also prototypes of OID for verifiable credentials and shared signals. And yeah, finally, if you want to try the demo yourself, here is the link to the demo. So yeah, that's everything I had. Any questions? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello, thanks for the presentation. Just a question. Keycloak can be used to manage permissions just inside Keycloak, or suppose you have an application and you use Keycloak to add permissions to your application, basically. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's possible to achieve that, and like usually Keycloak shares the tokens with the application, and this token, like access token, for example, may contain roles, and based on the roles which are available in the token, application can decide if it authorizes something or not. Also, applications can be configured to authorize, to do authorization decision based on some other claims in the token, like attributes, also, and finally, Keycloak also have authorization services, which provides also some control to applications how they can authorize their own things, like yeah, there is some support for the UMA protocol, like user managed access protocol, and yeah, so there is some flexibility here. But yeah, fine-grained admin permissions are like main use case for them is to just manage administration of the Keycloak itself. Any more questions?
Next one.
Yeah, sorry.
Hello. Okay. So we already have the applications, and it have a lot of user, and we already have the user tables inside the database. So I understand that Keycloak can provide the authentication and authorization. So what is what is the best way if you want to transformation or refactor the application from using the local user database to Keycloak? So what do you think? What is the best scenarios, or what is the best way to migrate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you have already your user database, like that's the way which Keycloak can solve, because Keycloak has support for something called user storage. And yeah, that's what Takashi also mentioned in the presentation. And user storage is the SPI which allows to create your own Java plugin which will be able to provision users from your own database. So, and there is some flexibility. So, for example, you can specify what user attributes will be provisioned from your database and what attributes or things would be provisioned from Keycloak in case that your application, for example, does not support links to social providers or so on. And also, the Keycloak can delegate authentication to the database. So, like for example, password will be verified against your database if you have like already hashed passwords of users. Or also, yeah, there is some flexibility here. So, user storage SPI is the solution, and it's documented in the Keycloak server development guide, which can be found from Keycloak documentation.
Okay, thank you.
So if your the database support, for example, the LDAP or Active Directory, then Keycloak can provide built-in user storage provider. So, but if your database system does not your database system that include your user information does not support such kind of the open standard, then you can create your own user storage provider to access to your database. Then when your application wants to authenticate your user, then Keycloak delegate the authentication onto your own existing local database.
Okay, so you mean I can create like a custom Keycloak user database based on my application, and Keycloak can like plug that from the Keycloak to our custom user database and use that as an authentication via Keycloak. So, is that right?
Yeah, you can, basically it's about like creating some Java plugin and deploy it to Keycloak, because if your data are not standard like LDAP, it's, yeah, you may need to implement by yourself, and you may also need to implement how exactly are the password users authenticated by passwords. But you don't need to implement like screen for username and password, for example. That's still provided by Keycloak. But just when a user provides his password on the login screen, the password validation itself will be done by your plugin instead of by Keycloak built-in functionality.
Okay, thank you.
So the time is up, so this session is end. Thank you.
Thank you.